Welcome to today's edition of OPP Extra. I'm Chris Thomsen, joined by basketball reporter Christian de Guzman, and we have a very tough loss to break down. Syracuse falls 78-59 in the second round of the ACC Tournament to North Carolina. Christian, just right away, what is your initial reaction to this game?
Well, it's back to the same old Syracuse that we've seen throughout this entire season. A lack of offensive execution, really poor shot selection throughout this entire game, lack of offensive aggression towards the paint, underneath the basket. UNC really killed them on both ends of the court, and that's really what led to this devastating loss for Syracuse. Really, it's a big confidence shatter, especially after what happened on Tuesday night against Wake Forest. A really good game for Syracuse, not so much today against UNC.
Certainly a lot to talk about from this game, but let's bring it to the team itself. Here's what Coach Boeheim and the guys had to say.
This team's fought as hard as any team I've ever coached. I think there was a time there where with 10 minutes to go, we're down about 18 or 19. I mean, they just dug in.
Sometimes you don't really get a team like this. You get stuck with selfish guys or the guys that are all about themselves. But everyone on this team is really team oriented, and that just shows how ready we are to win. A lot of big name guys on this team, and for us to come out here and play for one another, it just shows everyone really loves each other and everyone wants to win. Obviously,
7 guys. It's tough to play as many games as we've had to play in the last really 2 weeks, and but I'm very proud of what they've done. They've really worked hard through it. I thought we had some opportunities when we got back. We had a couple pretty good looks when we got it to 9, and we just didn't capitalize. But these guys fought as hard as you could ask them to fight. I'm very proud of this team.
I mean, they did a great job of flooding the paint and staying in front of us. They're a great defensive team. They played the ball screen very well, and it just made it difficult for us.
Just like Frank said, they played the ball screen well. They made it tough getting to the basket. They're stepping up, trying to take charges and stuff like that. So they played it well.
You just thinking about, everything you did tonight was just a foul. So, you want to be aggressive at the same time. You're thinking, okay, I don't want to, touch him, bump him, or do whatever because it might be a foul. Because everything, blocked a shot, touched him, it was a foul. I don't understand that. So that was it's really hard to get around that, knowing that, you can't only be aggressive. So, it was really tough.
And Christian, you heard Pascal Chukwu there be very frustrated about foul trouble, and it's really just a frustration about not getting it done in the paint. Just so many problems scoring underneath the basket for the Orange today.
Yeah, there were maybe a couple of calls here and there that Pascal probably thought, is this really a foul? And you could hear it from the Syracuse fans also, definitely, but you have to go by what the officials say is a foul and what isn't a foul. Unfortunately for Pascal today, just didn't work out for him. 16 minutes into the second half, that's really bad for Syracuse when they really need someone like Pascal. We saw how good his defense has been the past couple of games, and they really missed it towards the end of the stretch.
Yeah, it really seemed like Jim Boeheim was just leaving Mac out there. It was just maybe the last resort. Pascal's got to go as long as he can. Just seemed like, there's always this concern about the lack of depth of Syracuse, and it really caught up to them today.
Oh, it definitely did, and it feels like, Syracuse, especially Boeheim talked about it in the post-game press conference as well. He has a lot of guys who can't really post up and create something from underneath the basket from their own self. So it's got to be Tyus Battle, it's got to be Frank Howard, it's got to be O'Shea Brissett, who has to make something off the dribble. And when you play guys for 40 minutes, getting guys who make their shots off the dribble, it's going to tire them a lot more than how the Syracuse teams in the past have played, by using ball movement and getting guys into the post like a Torrey and Thomsen, and maybe even a Rakeem Christmas or Tyler Roberson. Those guys were effective underneath the post and could play for 40 minutes. This Syracuse team really can't because they have to make their own shots.
Yes, and especially against a tougher team like North Carolina, against a team like Wake Forest, you can kind of get away with having a lack of depth down low, but with this team, there's just so many more challenges that presents itself.
It definitely is, and you saw it today with Luke May really being bothersome throughout the entire game. Yeah, Cameron Johnson, even Theo Pinson creating some problems. Cameron Johnson was bodying Marek Dolezaj throughout this entire game, and both of them are pretty much the same in body built, except Marek is 170 soaking wet, as Jim Boeheim always says. But this is a UNC team that really just got physical with Syracuse, and especially when you saw Joel Berry and Theo Pinson, even Kenny Williams pushing up on the perimeter, really making sure that Frank Howard and Tyus Battle didn't have any space to create their own shots from 25 feet away from the basket, that's when Syracuse got to get frustrated. And iso ball for Syracuse is something that they've always gone to, and UNC shut that down throughout the entire game, especially towards the latter part of the second half.
That's right, and many things have to change in Syracuse's next game, whether it's in the NCAA tournament or the NIT. But Christian, what's the one thing you think they really have to improve upon?
Well, it's got to be aggressiveness towards the basket. You can't always go off the dribble, but you have to use ball movement, create your own shot, like Coach Boeheim has in his past teams. If you can use your ball movement, get people open, like you saw against Wake Forest. Yes, that Wake Forest defense wasn't great, but you got people open with ball movement. You can't always do it off the dribble. Sometimes you can use iso ball, but attack the rim and use ball movement. And really attacking the rim in some way, shape, or form has got to be how Syracuse improves their offense, whether it goes into the NCAA tournament or the NIT. Attacking the rim was something they weren't successful doing today. Yes, you could say foul trouble was part of that, but because they weren't efficient around the basket, that's what really led to Syracuse's downfall today.
That's right, and no matter what, they'll be much more well-rested than they were tonight here in the Barclays Center. Well, that will wrap it up for this edition of Orange Press Pass Extra. Be sure to check out all of Citrus TV Sports' coverage across the hill, and of course, we'll keep you updated on Selection Sunday. On behalf of Christian de Guzman, I'm Chris Thomsen. Have a beautiful night, Syracuse.